I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection. Please take this opportunity to take a moment for silent reflection for our servicemen and women throughout the world, and also for those who have passed away in our community, especially Attorney Mary Ann Grippo, Director of the Police Academy at Lackawanna College. Thank you. Roll call, please. Here.
Here. Here. Here.
Here. This evening we are going to have the great privilege of issuing a proclamation to the family of Frank Norton. Would the family please come down to the front of the room? That's good. Be my cat. I also would like, there's three former city clerks here as well. I'd like them to come down as well. We had John Polchis, Jim Wintermantle, and Kay Garvey are also here to show their respects for Mr. Norton. Whereas the Council of the City of Scranton is desirous of honoring Frank J. Norton for his years of service to City Council as a city clerk, and whereas Mr. Norton was married for 64 years to his wife Alice until his passing on July 12, 2017. He and Alice are the parents of 5 children: Jim, Mary Alice, Tim, Nancy, and Aaron, and 16 grandchildren. And whereas Mr. Norton began his career with the city on October 14, 1968, during the administration of Mayor James J. Walsh, and whereas Mr. Norton moved into the position of city clerk on November 3rd, 1979, and remained there for almost 20 years until his retirement on January 5th, 1998. And whereas Mr. Norton has dedicated himself to the office of City Council, City Clerk, and has served with numerous City Council persons. And now therefore be it resolved by the members of Scranton City Council that on Thursday, October 26, 2017, the Council wishes to honor Mr. Norton by naming the City Clerk's office on the second floor of the municipal building as the Frank J. Norton City Clerk's office, as grateful recognition of his outstanding contributions. Be it further resolved that this proclamation be made a permanent part of the minutes of this council as lasting tribute to Frank J. Norton. We have the proclamation. When we heard of Mr. Norton's passing, we thought we wanted to find a way to honor him because of the great work that he's done. I'm on council for 4 years, and we still talk about Mr. Norton's great contribution to the city. Many of the procedures and processes that we still follow were established by Mr. Norton. They haven't changed because of
Mr. Norton knew more about city government, the home rule charter, and any vestige of knowledge you would want to have. He didn't always agree with us, we didn't always agree with Frank, but if he did it his way, it was the right way. And I say to this day, I've talked to many city clerks in my later years on council, and even to clerks after I left council, and they would call me with a question, and I would say, if find something that Frank Norton did that's similar, and follow that down to the exact science, and you will have a perfect ordinance that's unchallengeable. Frank was a great man. He was served under a lot of mayors and a lot of different councilmen, but you should be proud of this honor, because there'll never be another one like him. Great people, passionate Jimmy and Kay and Lori, but Frank was one of a kind. He set the plate for us. So I appreciate the opportunity to say this kind of words to you people, and it comes from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate all that you say, because his heart and his head is always in the right place. And it's for the city of Scranton and its citizens and its taxpayers. You're welcome.
Well, thank you for coming down. Thank you very much. Dispense with reading of the minutes.
Third order, 3A, agenda for City Planning Commission meeting held October 25, 2017.
Are there any comments? If not, received and filed.
3B, tax assessor's results report for hearing date held October 12, 2017.
Are there any comments? If not, received and filed. Do any council members have announcements at this time?
Yes, I have two announcements to make. The first announcement is for Halleck's Heroes. I spoke a little bit, I think, and also Councilman Rogan did last week. Officer Halleck was diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia. He has a wife and a brand new baby boy, and we are having a fundraiser for him. It's going to be Saturday, November 18th. It's going to be from 6 to 10. It's going to be at the Scranton Dunmore FOP Lodge, which is 401 Railroad Street in Scranton. It's $15 a person. It includes food, beverage, and there'll be the regular novelties there, baskets, 50/50, T-shirts, bracelet sales. Chris is a great officer who's in time of need, and so is his family. And let's show him the support that he gives us every day when he goes out on the job, and let's be there for him and his family. Thank you. I have one other announcement to make. As part of National Prescription Drug Take Back Day on October 28th, the Scranton Police, which is this Saturday, Scranton Police Department is participating to provide a convenient, safe, and responsible means of disposing of prescription drugs. Unused or expired prescription medications may be brought to police headquarters at 100 South Washington Avenue on the 28th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And again, this is a National Prescription Drug Take Back Day, and we all know the issues going on right now in our country, and this is a good step to get them off our streets.
Thank you.
I have one. There will be a dedication of the gazebo at Connors Park in Southside at 11 a.m. on Saturday. The gazebo will be formally named for Bob McGough at that time. I would urge all of Bob's many friends to try to attend this great honor for our late friend and colleague, Bob McGough.
According to a release by PennDOT, the Harrison Avenue Bridge will be closed this weekend as contractors work on tying in the new bridge to new roads on each side of the bridge. The closure will take place from 7 a.m. on Saturday, October 28th, to 4 p.m. on Sunday, October 29th. Emergency vehicles will be able to pass through the work zone with the assistance of the Scranton Police. Detour will be posted from Harrison to Spruce to Mulberry. The new Harrison Avenue Bridge is scheduled to be open to traffic next month, with the old bridge being torn down next year. Also, please be aware tomorrow that there will be some road closures within the city due to the funeral of Attorney Mary Ann Gripple. There'll be a procession from Lackawanna College to the cathedral where her funeral will be held. A memorial service has been planned for Congressman Joe McDade this Saturday, October 28th at 10 a.m. in the McElhenney Ballroom on the 4th floor of the DeNaples Center on the campus of the University of Scranton. The service is open to the public. I would like to repeat something that we announced last week about the recycling of yard waste and the bags. The recycling department has purchased bags for yard waste and leaves. These bags will be available at the DPW location at 101 West Poplar Street. These bags are available now until the supply is exhausted. The pickup schedule will be as follows. On Mondays, they can be picked up from 2 to 5. On Wednesday, they can be picked up from 2 to 7. And on Thursday, they can be picked up from 2 to 5. There is no charge for bags, just show proof of Scranton residency. They will be picked up on the DPW on your regular trash day starting November 1, 2017. Any questions, please call 570-348-4165.
Fourth order, citizens' participation.
Before we begin citizens' participation, I would like to make a request that comments please be restricted to agenda items. I'm trying to discourage political attacks at the podium. I can't stop you from making them, but please respect the fact that candidates are out there doing their best. I don't believe that it does anyone any good to issue personal attacks against any of the candidates, whether you're for them or against them. So I would respectfully ask you to keep your comments to agenda items or policies, and please don't issue personal attacks. It's a reflection on you more than a reflection on the person that you're attacking when we ask you not to do that. Gary St. Fleur.
Good evening, my name is Gary St. Fleur, Scranton resident. Within the past week, a lawsuit was concluded that concluded the fact that there is a cap that Scranton has not maintained, at least for the past 10 years. This is along the lines of several lawsuits, one in which the sewer authority sales called into question, one in which there's a rental registration fee that's also called into question, and a garbage fee. Within the next year, if we tally these lawsuits together, the likelihood that the city of Scranton can be facing upwards of $100 million in costs that it must recoup, or find some way to pay off. Now, my question or comment is, in light of these things, what sort of policies and strategy could possibly be a case for the city council or the mayor? If we're going to be honest, if just one of these things pans out, the city would be out a functioning budget for the year. For instance, the Act 511 lawsuit. Part of the penalty is that they cannot collect taxes past the state cap. The current year alone has them having a 10-year overage. Within the next year, they won't be able to have that $10 million. And anyone who paid in excess of that cap will have to be responsible for refunding for up to 3 years. Based on my calculations, we're talking about $30 to $50 million from that lawsuit alone. Currently, the city's appealing it, spending tax dollars to attempt to continue to tax the people. It seems that the city of Scranton is only focused on finding more revenues, and there's never a discussion of cutting spending. I know they say they do, but then I do my research, and there's a city called Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. They have the same size, roughly, of Scranton, 75,000 people. When I look into their budget, they somehow managed to operate their city of 75,000 people at $72 million, while Scranton required upwards of $140 million. So that's basically that Scranton requires 2 Bethlehems in order to operate its city. Now, what are the cost drivers that are driving the city? What's about the city that makes it so expensive to live here? Countless people who work downtown do not live in the city. Businesses flock to just neighboring places, just outside the corridors of the city because of its tax structure. Property investors do not want to invest in the city because they say even though the houses are cheap, they don't want to be hit with the taxes or the improvements because the house languish in value because they haven't been kept up because of property taxes. My question or comment to you gentlemen is, in all honesty, if you're going to be forthright and honest, what are you going to do in the next year? How is the city not going to go bankrupt? How is the city not going to be without revenues? If the sewer deal gets reversed, that's $160 million right there. Then you add on the other lawsuits, there's absolutely no way that the city is not going into bankruptcy. Furthermore, within the first quarter, there are 2 bonds that were passed in the past 15 years that cannot be refinanced. That's another $25 million. If we're going to be honest, gentlemen, if we're going to be forthright, proper statesmen, proper public servants, we have to be honest with the people and tell them that as things stand, the city's definitely going into bankruptcy, just a matter of when. If the city needs to unlawfully tax people to make due for the year, if it needs to break laws through garbage fees or rental registration or shake people down to make due, then that's all indication that the city's budget is not sustainable. Why is Bethlehem able to run its city with a population size of Scranton at 72 million when we need 140 million? Where's the extra $70 million coming from? What is in the city that requires that? I would love to know. I'm sure you gentlemen will owe the people of Scranton an answer. In fact, let's lay it down the cards for the next year. If this happens and these lawsuits come to Scranton's doorstep, because my lawsuit's already won, what is the city going to do? Find more revenue sources? Raise property taxes? Tax the people more? Why can't you cut spending? Be honest. What about the budget that requires another $70 million? More borrowing, more sales of public assets? What about this city that requires it? Why can't we cut spending? Why can't we lower taxes? Why can't we do the right thing? Just file bankruptcy already. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. John Foley?
Gentlemen, it's good to see you again. I'm struggling with a cold, so if I lose my voice, I will end abruptly. I'd like to make first a couple of comments, maybe do some fact-checking, and then you received letters before I went on holiday with respect to the union pension plan, specifically to the recovery plan. But first, a couple of remarks. Everything I know about you guys leads me to believe that you're honest and decent individuals, that you have been elected primarily by your party and with some help of family and friends. There is no job description for your positions, and as a result, many, if not all of you, do not have the depth and breadth of experience in significant financial matters or to run a business the size with the number of employees of the city of Scranton. So, no different than prior council members, you've had to rely on information that you have received from the mayor and the cast of players around the mayor, the business office manager, financial advisors, and lawyers. How's that working out for you? I've sent a number of letters outlining the problems that I have identified with the city, most of which are on the Green Ridge website, and I will not go through them again, but at least to say there are a number of issues that you need to start taking into consideration. Now, let me move on. I did a little fact-checking. A great article in the Monday Times, and I even forget where the mayor and the Jim Mulligan were, but at least to say, Mulligan said that the sewer authority deal was $195 million, and the net proceeds were $183 million. The only dispute I have with that, if somebody had run a cash flow analysis, including the capital expenditures, they would have known that it was not an $195 million deal, it was a $183 million deal. Just a minor thing. But that tells me the people who did the transaction knew or should have known that it was a $183 million deal. I looked at the comments that the mayor had on Ned Abramson's fees. He said that the sewer authority pay them, that they did not have to go through the bidding process. Well, I totally disagree. I disagree because the mayor and, I believe, Jason Schreiber, who is the former city solicitor, said that the city hired him. That, yes, the sewer authority did pay Attorney Abramson, but they paid Attorney Abramson on behalf of the city of Scranton. So let me put it in simplistic terms. Let's say the city was supposed to get $1 million, and the legal fees were $200,000. The transaction would have been $1 million worth of distribution to the city and $200,000 in legal fees. The legal fees are the city's. They are not the authorities, even though the authority wrongfully reported them on its books. If there's any disagreement either with anybody in this administration or any of the advisors, I would be more than happy to go hand in hand the Pennsylvania Institute of Certified Public Accountants, of which I'm a member, and to resolve the issue there. But I don't believe anybody's going to take me up on that offer. The recovery plan, I believe, is voluminous, it's weighty, there are a lot of recommendations in there that will never, ever be taken into consideration. But they're in there and have been put to the city over the last 25 years. But let me deal with it. The net income / deficit for 18 through 20 has been minimized by one significant reduction in cost. The pension for the 2017 year is supposed to be $19 million. And each one of the years, 18, 19, and 20, it drops to $13 million, and the explanation is the elimination of COLA. Has anybody bothered to tell the unions that the only way the city's getting to stabilize it is because of the elimination of COLA? No other reason. I think the union ought to know that. Because frankly, the city negotiated with the union in good faith, and as a result of that, the benefit was provided. The city has an opportunity to fund the pension plan. They never did. Mulligan said that the tax increase should have been was 26%. I think it should be much higher than that. And it will be higher than that as you go into the future. Last thing. Act 11, the trash registration fees, are going to tank the city. It will not be a bankruptcy. It cannot, Pennsylvania won't allow it. You will have a receiver in here. The report issued by Pell was issued June 30th, 2017. Shortly after that, Judge Gibbons ruled against the city. To my knowledge, Pell has not stepped to the plate and updated their report. Because if they did, there would have to be a fire drill here as to what is going to happen pending the resolution of that. With that, gentlemen, I am going to the lake, have dinner with my wife, and I'm going to take the Irish cure for my cold.
Please bring some for us, too, please. Joan Hodawanitz.
Joan Hodawanitz, city resident and taxpayer. I know that the Scranton School District is a separate taxing authority, but I read with great dismay, or I've started reading, the Auditor General's report. It's 110 pages long. It is not an easy read. It's appalling. And I bring it up because, in my opinion, within a year, the school district is going to be in receivership, whether the city is or not. I think that's where it's going. I think whether or not that happens, they're going to have to raise taxes substantially. And I think that combination of factors is going to impact on the city's credit rating. It's going to cast a pall over bringing business into the city. If I were a business person, I wouldn't want to come here and send my kids to the Scranton School District. I'm sorry. No offense to you, Mr. Gahn. Oh, here's my $5. Has anybody got the Knowles insurance list? How about the Arcadis stormwater study? Well, you guys are passing up perfectly good money. Whatever happened to the third-party administrator, which we call the intermediate medical examination coordinator? Is that still floating around upstairs?
It is. Right now, they're seeking some comments from the unions.
Well, you know, that surprises me, since on October 21st, last Saturday, what do I see in the legals? But an RFP for the landscape architect and engineering design of the Linden Street green space, which you have tabled the transfer of that deed.
Yeah,
Is that like the cart going before the horse?
that's just the bid process. No contract has been awarded yet.
Well, I hope they award no money if they award the contract, because I'd like to
Well,
see.
they do want to keep the project moving in case it gets done by the end of the year, so that's just a bid. That's all
Well,
that
if they're
is.
ambitious, let them work on the third-party
Well, the
arbitration.
third party is done, but it just has to be instituted or accepted.
Okay, also, I don't know if you've seen this in the paper a couple times, Colts has this little ad, and it says, Colts wants to know where you want to go. Where would you like Colts to have service? Now, I know, again, that's a county service, but a lot of people in Scranton, like myself, don't drive and are dependent on the buses, either to get to work, or to the store, or to medical appointments, you name it, okay? And I was thinking, you know, bus number 26 goes to Mohegan Sun in Luzerne County. You know, it goes right past the airport, but doesn't turn into the airport. So I hope that a lot of the residents in Scranton will take some time, and if the bus doesn't go where you work, or where you have a doctor's appointment, or you have a nursing home, or whatever, a school, okay, and you need to get classes, or the hours are wrong, let Colts know what kind of service you want, okay, because they owe it to us. And finally, kudos to Glennis Johns. Have you seen the editorial that was written on her suggestion about honoring blacks' contributions to the city of Scranton? You mentioned last week that you thought this was a good idea. I sure hope that you follow through with it, because I think it's excellent. Thank you.
Faye Franis?
Faye Franis, Scranton. Mr. Wexler, I'm sure you have the right to say whatever you want, but I totally disagree. I don't think you should be telling people only speak on agenda items. If anything, you should be encouraging people to speak here. With what you said tonight, that's intimidation. We have a right to say whatever we choose. You may not like it, and you may try to steer us away from saying things that you might not want to hear, but we have that right. And for you to say those things, I think it's 100% wrong. Now, I want to read something from the city code. Professional services. The city of Scranton will publicly advertise for professional services when the payments for such is expected to exceed the threshold of $19,400 in one calendar year. Did Mayor Courtwright put out the bid professional service for the lawyers for the sewer authority that
No.
Nate Abrahamson got?
No, he did not.
So he didn't follow the city code. He violated the city code. Right? Okay, another one. All contracts must be reviewed and approved by the city solicitor and signed by the mayor and the controller or their designated substitutes and attested to by the city clerk. Did the city clerk attest to this, the contracts?
Well, if we didn't vote on it, it did not go through our office.
Well, it says here that it was supposed to be attested to, but it didn't have to, it doesn't have to go through council for the city clerk to assign something. Did the city
If it's
clerk?
a contract, it does, yes.
Pardon me?
If it's an approved contract by council, it does, yes.
I didn't say that. I said, did the contracts for Ned Abrahamson get signed by Novembrino and the city clerk?
No, because they weren't voted on by council. The city clerk only votes for council.
That's not true. Sometimes the mayor and you may sign something, and the city clerk may sign something, but it doesn't have to be approved by council. Now, I don't know if you don't know that, if you don't know that. That's not necessarily true.
No,
It doesn't have to be.
I've never signed anything that was not voted on by council.
Doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Well, it did not happen in this case, for sure. The city clerk did not authorize any payments for Mr. Abrams.
Well, so, again, the mayor violated the law. Again. So what the mayor did was, he violated the trust of the people, violated the law, but you know what? There's no consequences. There's no penalties. The most I think it is, if you take it to court and do all this other stuff, it's like a $300 fine or at the most 90 days in jail. But nobody's going to do that. So what happens is, the mayor continues to do things illegally, and there's no repercussions. The only way we had to do anything, is our only hope, to get back any kind of right trust for the people, is in the voting booth on November 7th. That's the one day we have to voice our opinions, to make a difference in the city. Because right now, we can't trust the mayor to do anything right. Mr. Rogan, did you get that information I asked you about? Like who? Pardon me?
I did.
Okay, I want to know who authorized the trees to get cut down in Lake Scranton?
It was authorized by the DPW director and the Shade Tree Commission.
Who told the DPW to cut them down?
The reply, what the DPW director told us was that the city was receiving complaints about not being able to see off the overpass.
Yes.
And that's why why the trees
So
were
nobody
cut.
so the DPWs were the only person that gave the go-ahead on this?
And the Shade Tree Commission, Mr. Santoli.
Why wouldn't they just top them off?
I'm not an expert in that field.
And why were they told to leave them there instead of taking them away? Did this not have to go in front of city council for a vote?
It did not come in front of us.
No,
for a
but
vote.
should it have?
If it was over 19,000.
Was it?
I didn't get a copy of the bill. I could try to get it for you, though.
No, this was internal work by the DPW. We don't vote or approve the work that the DPW director.
If the taxpayers are paying for it?
It's part of their work as DPW.
What about the taxpayers? Who's paying for this?
It's the same as if they go trim trees on any other street or fill a pothole. We don't authorize that. That's part of the DPW
This was over
director's
20
job.
trees, though.
But that's his responsibility. He decided to do that.
Who's he?
The DPW director. He
Okay.
received complaints. He cut them down. He checked with Mr. Santoli, who's the expert on trees in the area. I don't think of anyone better to ask than Mr. Santoli what should be cut and how it should be cut, and that's what happened. We don't approve the daily work of the DPW.
I also think, Mr. Wexler, you should check up on the city law, because apparently you don't know it, because like I said before, the mayor, a member of council, and the city clerk could sign something without council's approval, or having something in front of council to approve.
Lee Morgan?
Good evening, Council. Lee Morgan. Well, I think tonight the first two speakers did really an excellent job of putting things in somewhat of a legitimate focus tonight on what the city's actually looking at. And all this could have been avoided with a legitimate city council and a group of voters in the city who really wanted to turn this city around. And it just never happened. Because people in this city have been misled for so long. You don't have to give them magic Kool-Aid. You don't have to use the magic fluid on them. Nothing. They're just completely out of their mind. The residents of this city are so easily misled, it's just remarkable. But the one thing they're not going to be misled about, as probably the future holds, is all this mismanagement and all this money that's been spent. If it has to be repaid, it's coming out of the same people. So the residents are going to pay all this money back after the city misspent it. And not only did they lose their assets, but the people they voted for and the way they voted with spaghetti dinners and silly little signs in people's yards has led to the total collapse of a city. And it's just amazing that something like that could actually happen. And you have to ask yourself, why didn't the Auditor General come in here and start investigating all these deals and all the other things that have taken place here? And why don't they bring the Attorney General in and start prosecuting? I'd be thrilled to see a city council member who did something incorrectly go to jail for 90 days. I think it'd be a good, it'd show that the system is trying to function. If a mayor committed a crime, throw him in jail. Find out where all the money came from and all the contributions for public office. And if people have committed a crime, put them in jail. Don't only go after the drug dealers and the petty criminals. Let's clean up the whole situation here. You know, I wonder what, as crazy as this sounds, I wonder what the President of the United States would do if somebody mailed him a letter and talked about a Democratic stronghold like Scranton, Pennsylvania, has squandered and mismanaged federal money and state money and shown total disregard for its residents over an extended period of time. And I wonder if he'd send somebody here to investigate. Maybe some of the people that were elected would look a lot better with different kind of suits on. Because, you know, it's really beyond pathetic where we find ourselves. And, you know, for all the parents who have children in the Scranton School District, don't kid yourself. Your children have been shortchanged of an education because the Scranton School District squandered millions and millions of dollars. And they weren't concerned about education. They were playing the political game, just like our city council has done for decades. And, you know, when you take a look at all the silliness you've done, whether it was the sewer authority or the parking garages or a whole host of grant money being squandered and mismanaged, or the Southside Sports Complex or Naog Park, the residents lost all that because they had faith in a government they elected. And you know, I really think the council itself, including this council, you owe an apology to the residents of this city. Because as these court cases spin, you're going to find out what the difference is between an opinion of your solicitor and law. But in the end, the people really hurt were the residents and their children and the future of this city. Because the people in this city haven't learned one thing. To control your future, you have to control your past. And they've done neither. And they still don't get their mind around it. And who wins this next election is irrelevant because the city is financially going to collapse. And it's something I've talked about. I remember a few council races ago I brought up what was going to happen with the city pensions. And a couple of the candidates who happened to win thought it was comical and said, should we have a yard sale? Well, maybe you should have. Thank you.
Bob Boulos?
Bob Boulos, Scranton. It was an interesting evening last night watching a debate as to who's going to run or wants to run this city. When I was here last week, I brought up that I had contacted the Attorney General's office regarding Jim Mulligan and the money that he received for health insurance.
because there's an issue called insurance fraud, and we're hearing all sides of it. Well, this is a letter I received October 16th from the Office of the Attorney General, Antitrust Section. Mr. Bob Bolus, Birch Street, Scranton. Dear Mr. Bolus, the Office of Attorney General would like to thank you for your letter dated October 5th, 2017. I've been assigned to review the information you have supplied. If I have further questions, I will attempt to contact you at my phone number that I gave them, that you provided. Sincerely, Norman W. Martin, Senior Deputy Attorney General. Now, the sad part of this is, you're sitting here, I listen to transparency in and out. I know what side of the fence you're on anyway, but that's neither here nor there. You represent the people in this city. Would you, Mr. Gahan, now request the Attorney General to investigate this issue? Would you do that on behalf of the people?
I don't even know to what issue you are referring.
I'm referring to Jim Mulligan getting the insurance money from the Sewer Authority, and the Sewer Authority has been a big issue that you've yelled about transparency here, and everyone has, the solicitors and all. Well, let's step back a moment on transparency. There's your solicitor right there. When you have a legal question or issues that you think about, you ask your solicitor. If your solicitor advises you to do something, you do it, don't you? Because that's why he's sitting here. Well, the mayor did the same thing with the Sewer Authority. The mayor had attorneys. The Sewer Authority had attorneys, and the water company had attorneys. They all sat there and said it was okay to do what he was doing. He went on advice of the attorneys to go ahead and do what he's doing. Now, if the attorneys are wrong, they're the ones that be held accountable, not the mayor of the city of Scranton. And remember, you all signed the recovery plan to sell the Sewer Authority, the parking garages, and all the other stuff that's gone on here. So, to sit and criticize when you have a solicitor, if your solicitor said, wait a minute, guys, you can't sign this until you know more about this or more about that, did more in-depth research on it rather than just think it. So it's hard for me as a resident of this city to see the school district putting the screws to everybody here, doing the same thing the Sewer Authority did with Jim Mulligan, where he took money, or not money, but insurance that he didn't pay for, and he wasn't entitled to because he wasn't a paid employee. But to clear that matter up, I went to the Attorney General's office, something you should have did if you want transparency cleared up. Is anybody here requiring or going to request the Attorney General to further look into this?
Mr. Perry asked Attorney Menor to look into that.
Okay, you could ask your solicitor then if you should do it. That's exactly my point. You cannot answer my question without first asking your solicitor. The same thing Mayor Courtwright did. He asked his solicitors, he asked his attorneys, and on their advice, he went ahead and moved forward. If you people didn't think that was a legitimate thing, you could have filed an injunction against them and stopped it. So you have a lot of power you didn't bother to use, but the criticism is all wrong here. And that's what upsets me. That's why I come here. I have more important things to do than come here, but this is my city as much as it is yours or anyone else's. And to sit back and watch, we came out of Leahy Hall last night. You see the food court there? Shouldn't the university be paying taxes? It's not higher learning there. They should be paying taxes. They're a business. They compete with Chick Steiner and every other restaurant, Abe's and all. Shouldn't they pay taxes? They got a Chick-fil-A. Shouldn't they pay taxes? Or are you going to learn how to cook chicken or how to cut up a bagel there last night? It's not higher learning. You should be pushing to bring the city back in on its economic values. File a fee on them. Make them pay their fair share. You want to pull the city out of debt. You can't bury it anymore on bad assets and yapping about this and yapping about that. You have a mayor, you should be supporting the mayor. And that's what makes this thing go around. You can't support someone who was a lawyer, who knowingly took money, not money, but health insurance, and can't plead ignorance on it. The law's the law, and it's for everyone, including Jim Mulligan. Everybody's put the screws to this city. It's now time for accountability. You should send a letter to the Attorney General. I'd have more respect for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bolus. Glynis Johns?
May I say one more thing? I'm
No.
sorry. No, this is kind of thing. I have a clinical psychologist.
Mr. Bolus, your
here.
time is up.
Wait.
Your
This
time
the
is
benefit
up.
of
We,
the
do we
people.
afford this
No.
to anybody else? Then
No.
your time is up.
Thank you,
Sit
Mr.
down.
Bolus.
Go
Thank you,
ahead.
Mr.
You wanna
Sit
learn
down.
something? Sit
Mr. Bolus, your time is up. Sit down. We don't afford Mr. Bolus more opportunities than anybody else. Please sit down, Mr. Bolus. Thank you.
Now, if you want to do anything intelligent toward the people in this community, the fire department and police, you'll attend the meeting tomorrow morning, which you're being invited to, at 10 a.m. at the commissioner's office. And don't be so damn smart, you don't know everything.
Well, I was always taught, don't get into a fight with a skunk because you come out smelling like one. Thank you.
Hi, Glynis.
Hello, good evening. First, I would just like to say that was, well, not that, but when we had the presentation honoring someone here in City Council, so I hope and look forward to the moment when the people that I have brought up to suggestions get honored here in the city. So that is something that I see happening for the people that I have recognized, and it's cool that that happens here in the city. So today I'm not here to speak about my research. I'm here to talk about the Scranton School District because that's also a pending issue for myself. And as other people had came up here and said, that this city is failing the students here, and it's honestly very tragic. I now work for the Scranton School District, so I get to see some of these students and how their education is being facilitated or not facilitated. And the fact that there are any high school students that can't do simple division, adding, subtracting, or working with fractions is devastating to me because these students are not ready to leave high school and get into the real world. So with that being said, I was very curious about what sort of research that the city has done when it comes to students, demographics, GPA scores, performance, teacher demographics, things like that. So I looked on the Scranton School District website. There's not that much. The only data that they have is for PSSAs and all the standardized tests. As we know, across the country, standardized tests are not always the best way to gauge students' economic performance. So I took it upon myself to reach out to the school board, and I spoke with a woman who's a policy advisor. We've been corresponding with emails back and forth all day, and I asked her if there's any data that the city has done on demographics, education, GPA, retention, graduation rates, things of that sort. And I told her that on the website they only had the standardized test scores and those statistical data available, but that's not what I'm looking for because it's scattered among grades and it's not indicative of the inside of the district that we are in, that these people are paying taxes for. So she sent me back the same PDFs of the documents that I was looking at. And so I just want to know why the city, if we see that people are very upset about what is going on in these schools, why are we not going out to commission our own data so that way we can better these programs? Why are we not talking to the teachers and the students and the parents at the school and finding out why these things are not working? Why can't we look up on the internet in the Scranton School District and see how many students are in each school? What's the demographic breakdown? Because then we can really see the disparities in learning and education and who's getting those things. Because I can see it, and I'm a product of this school district. I'm a product of my brothers being shunned out of the school district. And like you said, there's all these students here who literally are leaving not even knowing how to write a paper for college, and that's disgusting. And we talk about building businesses, from where? All these students are leaving because the city's not doing anything for us. So I really would like to see if the school board can put together some sort of data on the city so that way we can allocate funds to where they need to be, bring better programs. I know it's time to start reevaluating budgets, so maybe we can do that and see where the students are lacking. We're falling underneath the state requirements in these standardized tests, so I going to guess that it's probably the same outside of these standardized tests. Why aren't we talking to the students and seeing what they need? It's 2017. These people are doing things that are too old. When I was in the school, they're using the same textbooks in middle school, and that was 15 to 13 years ago. So I think we need to do better. We're in 2017, technology has advanced. These students are not looking at being in the classroom the same way almost a quarter of a century ago. So that was my main concerns for today. And because, like I said, we're starting to get new local government, budgets are starting to be developed, I think we really need to get into these schools and figure out what's going on, figure out how these students can get a better education, because at the end of the day, that's all we have. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Marie Schumacher. First, I'd like to ask Mr. Rogan to provide the status of the PCP's release of the information that they have gathered on the double pension.
Met with Attorney Minor, I believe it was about 2 weeks ago in your office, Attorney Minor, and we put in another call to the state police. We're kind of at a logjam right now trying to get them to release the information. We might wind up back in court.
I thought it was in court.
Well, it was an agreement. Attorney Minor could address it better than I can, but we may wind up back in court.
We had a hearing on the state police motion to quash based on a CREA, which they have on their side to withhold investigative information. They have the ability to release it under certain circumstances, and we're not willing to do it without certain stipulations, which were going to be placed in an order. So the stipulations that they wanted were supposed to have been provided by the state police. I have called Andrew Rangus a number of times. He did have after the hearing, he had a personal problem or some absence from work. I don't recall what it was. I'm not sure he told me. But that was going to delay it. And I've called him on several occasions to get back to me with, please, a stipulation that we can put into an order that Judge Moyer agreed to sign if it were agreed to by the Pennsylvania State Police. So we're at a logjam because we're waiting for them.
Well, I think maybe you need some help. I don't know if we need to make calls. Let's get us the number. I mean, this thing is getting very old and, okay. Now, I have no problem at all with Judge Gibbons allowing an appeal on the Act 511 issue. But I do have an issue if the city decides to appeal when the Supreme Court has already ruled that home rule charters do not supersede limitations imposed in state laws. It is a chilling thought to me, indeed, that the city does not have any kind of a ceiling that they can tax us however much you want. You know, the old thing. There's a 1040, what's at the bottom line? Give it to us. You know, this is crazy. I don't think we should be wasting any more money. I think we should just face the facts. And now on the piece of business that is tabled, and I hope tabled still from what I heard earlier tonight, I was appalled when I picked up the paper on Saturday and then again on Sunday. There's cost with that. How much does it cost for square inch? Lori probably knows for every one of those legal notices. That's a cost that maybe wouldn't have to be expended. Why they're so anxious to get going, I don't know, because I don't think it is the job of government to provide a park for every person who wants a park. I mean, you have higher obligations to us, one of which is allowing us to keep our homes and keep the cost down. That I just really cannot believe that they've gone ahead with that, unless, of course, maybe some of you, 3 of you, have already committed to voting in favor of that legislation. I mean, let's look really at the situation, the green space. As I say, it doesn't have to all be provided by the government, and it's not. There's much publicly owned, already in existence, parks. We have the Courthouse Square. We have the half lot right here next to the City Hall. We have that humongous park that I've never seen anybody in the 500 block of Lackawanna Avenue. There's another park planned for down by the Intermodal Center. All of this is for downtown. What about the rest of the city? On the private side, there's the beautiful park in the 200 block of Wyoming Avenue, which is right next to this Wyoming Avenue lot that everybody's so anxious to buy. May I finish this? Thank you. And the University of Scranton has a beautiful green space right off Linden Street. I mean, there are plenty of green spaces in this city already. And if it's the people who really want it who live down there, I say, where are they? Has anybody been to this podium and said, we really need this green space at that spot? I haven't heard them. And I like green space too, but the difference between me and what's happening here is my green space is my lawn. I pay taxes on it, I maintain it, and I think it's wrong for people who already have a lot of parks to demand another park that should be paid for by the rest of the city and maintained by the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. Dave Dobson, resident. Taxes paid, fees paid. Okay. First of all, 5F, I would recommend that you support that very strongly and support ECTV, as they have for years now produced unbiased and uncensored accounts of many functions, and you can view it on Channel 19. Now, as far as Scranton, I'm going to talk on general policy after this. I'm not talking up any candidate or bashing any candidate. In Scranton, I wish that somebody would look into taking our situation to federal court. We're not allowed to reassess. The county doesn't want to do that. We have a county commissioner campaigning against it. As far as our school system is concerned, the Scranton Times had an article, and basically I'm the type of person, if you can show me how to extricate 10 million undocumented people without causing a humanitarian catastrophe, well, my hat would be off to you. But we have a lot of English as second languages and so forth piling in, and I'm not exactly sure with our school district and our community if the federal government is offering any support. They get to be the nice guys, we get to pay the bill. So it's driving up school costs, and that's tying in. And the lawsuits, are these fees being paid by plaintiffs? You know, we have landlords that owed buku bucks, $18,000. One landlord was listed in the paper years back when Mayor Doherty was still in office, about a year before he left. And basically, a reassessment would invalidate their complaint on a lawsuit. So these fees, and you can't keep piling it on the tax, onto the property taxes. I have no desire to pay for a 40 by 170 lot $1,000 a year tax on it. Forget about it. We have tax exemptions galore, candidates running around promising tax exemptions. Every tax exempt that wants to move into the city, two of my doctors are down on the other side of Wyoming Avenue, on the other side of the prison. And, the place is being bought out from under them. So they're trying to look for a place, and the one place the foot and ankle doctor wants to move to doesn't have a bus going by. So what am I going to, you're going to walk 3 blocks in a cast or whatever. And I have a little message for both parties. The party behavior of both parties has been atrocious. Voter intimidation. Mr. Terzai of the Pennsylvania Assembly announced that Romney was assured re-election back in 2012, or assured the election because of voter registration and difficulties that they themselves created. Now that was supposed to be so a voter identified himself, not to ensure the election, throw the election to Romney. Now on the Democrat side last year, we had 450 superdelegates. I'll finish with this sentence. Superdelegates pledged before one Democrat vote primary was cast. That's not right. If you guys want to put signs up, all right, you two, you're fine to put signs up. And by the way, the slumlord that bought the house next door has a sign up, and I don't think I'll be voting for the guy. I don't know what he promised to Mr. Slumlord. Thank you and have a good night.
Anyone else?
Hi, Marge Kravitz, Scranton, I'm a little bit nervous, taxpayer. I am so disgusted with people coming up here and putting Gahan down. Mr. Gahan, you're the only one up there that will look at the person constantly. Mr. Perry, you're down here writing. Mr. Rogan, you have your eyes closed. Mr. Evans, you're writing something, I don't know what. Mr. Essler, I don't know about you. But Mr. Gahan, you are the best. And I know you will get elected. And Mr. Rogan, a year ago, I private messaged you on Facebook, and you told me you were going to get back to me about the stop sign on the corner, and you never did. Mr. Gahan, I private messaged you on Facebook to help me out with the stop sign. You answered me 1, 2, 3. In a matter of minutes. And Mr. Rogan, you did vote for the garbage tax to be raised $300. I only have one bag of garbage a month, and I have to pay $300. So I don't know, when somebody comes up here to put Mr. Gahan down, I get very upset. What about Courtright? What about all the millions of dollars that is missing? Don't they care about that? They just care about Mulligan with the health care? That's ridiculous. That's all. Hi, Mom.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Mr. Perry?
Yes, thank you. I have a couple things. And yes, I do a lot of writing during the speaking, and that's only because I'm taking notes about what the speakers are saying. For instance, Ms. Honos-Mons, she brought up Arcadius study. As of right now, Ms. Reed, we didn't get back with a date with Arcadius and American Water. They're supposed to get together with the dates, and as of today, I didn't see anything in my inbox saying that the meeting has been set. But I am, like all of us, awaiting with bated breath on that. Let's see where else. I want to say thank you to Director Gallagher and DBW. I had a stop sign that was out of whack, that didn't have any reflectivity, was homemade. That was already replaced even before I made the announcement. So they already noticed it before, sometime in the meantime, from that information getting to me and me getting to the podium. So thank you for that quick turnaround. Iron furnaces. I had a chance to stop briefly at the Iron Furnaces over the weekend for their 7th annual bonfire, and it was everything it always is. It was packed, it was hot, and it was a good time. I was very happy to stop by. And lastly, which I probably could have started with this, but I'll end with this either way. I just want to congratulate the Norton family. He's a very, very respected person around here, as he was for a very long time, and it's a well-deserved honor for him and his family to have the clerk's office named after him. I just want to again say congratulations and thank you for the hard work that was put in by Mr. Norton, and he won't be forgotten, obviously, forever. That's all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Mr. Rogan?
Yes, picking up where Mr. Perry left off, that was a very nice way to start a city council meeting with the ceremony for Mr. Norton and his family. Didn't have the privilege to work with him. Fortunately, none of us up here did. We're fortunate to have a very good city clerk. Lori Reed is doing a great job following in the footsteps of many great city clerks that have done a lot for our city. So it was a very nice ceremony to start the meeting tonight. Just 3 items I want to bring up. The first one is the vote regarding ECTV that Mr. Dobson brought up. I support this 100%. It's critical that these meetings remain on television so the public can see what's going on. I've always supported cameras in our council meetings, and I think it really gives the public a chance to see what's going on at the meeting, because a lot of people can't make it out to our council meetings. In addition to council, ECTV covers a number of other events that are very helpful. I attended the mayoral debate last night at the University of Scranton, and I really have to give ECTV credit. Within hours of that debate ending, it was on Channel 19. The debate ended at, I think, 7 o'clock, and by 9 o'clock it was up on ECTV. So encourage everyone to check out those debates that are on ECTV, and county meetings are covered. So do want to give a shout out to ECTV, and certainly going to support that legislation tonight. This week I did have a couple residents from West Mountain talk to me. I know Mr. Gaughan talked to the same individual that was having a lot of problems with stormwater runoff, and obviously that is the beginning of the problem that's going down into Kaiser Valley. I did discuss with Attorney Menorah looking into the possibility of some type of action against Newton Township, which is sprawling. There are a number of new homes up there, and every new home that's built, it's creating more and more water up on the top of the mountain that is coming down West Mountain and into Kaiser Valley. So I think that's something we need to look into, if there's a possibility of action or cooperation with them to put some retention ponds in up at the top of the mountain. So that's something we'll be continuing to work on. And finally, I want to talk a little bit about the school board and the school district. And it's funny, the timing is very odd that last week I spoke about shared services between the school district and the city, and not knowing that the Auditor General was going to be coming in issuing this report regarding the school district. But it really makes me, what I said last week, even more important, that it is critical that the city and school district work together to find ways to save money whenever we can. Last week I mentioned garbage, which, for instance, the city garbage trucks drive by every school in the city. And the city is much better at doing garbage than the school district is. On the other side of the coin, the school district has a very large maintenance staff, much larger than the city's. That type of cooperation can prevent the city from having to put out to bid cleaning at, for instance, at different facilities. There's a number of ways I believe that the school district and the city can work together. I know this is something that's been talked about for a long time and it hasn't happened. But I did bring this up in the caucus, and with my colleagues' agreement, I would like to send a letter to the school district formally asking to begin setting up a intergovernmental committee between the city and the school district. I did meet with their solicitor this morning. I talked it over with the school board solicitor, and he seemed very receptive to the idea. And I think this is something that has to really be explored. As I said, it's been talked about for a long time in numerous reports, but it really is something I think that we need to do. And this Auditor General's report coming out this week really shows the need for trying to work together. As I've said, the school district and the city, it's the same taxpayers. Whether the city budget is in much better shape than it was a few years ago. The school district, unfortunately, has moved in the opposite direction. So I'm hopeful that we can get that letter out to the school district. Hopefully the school board members take us up on the offer, and then we could come up with a committee, whether it's a couple members of council along with the business administrator or whatever we think makes the most sense to get a committee going and try to work through some of these issues to find some cost savings for the taxpayers. And that is all for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogan. Mr. Evans?
Thank you. First, I have always had the foremost respect for Frank Norton, so I was honored tonight by City Council's action to name our office after Mr. Norton. He was a very, very good man. Also, I will concur with what Councilman Rogan said about the school district. I think it's a very good idea, and I think that there are a lot of synergies that we could be exploited to the benefit of both governments. So a couple things. I have previously identified at least 15 fees that I think are being charged by the city that are generating less than $10,000 per year each, for a total annual revenue of $61,600. So I've asked LIPS on numerous occasions for justification for those fees, as well if there are any that are actually needed through state mandate. The response to that request over the last 6 months has been no response. So I think it's safe to say, whether it's perception or reality, that we have been sending a negative message to our business community through excessive fees, taxes, and red tape. And we have to find a way to change that narrative. Also, we're nearing our budget time, and I want to make an informed decision on what to do with these fees. My inclination is to, like anything else, get rid of them all. But I want to make sure that that's justified, and I need that information from LIPS ASAP. Some of the fees may be required. There could be also duplication with existing state fees, licenses, and requirements. So, Mrs. Reed, if you can send another memo to Deputy Director Oleski, asking again for the justification for the fees, and I'll give you the list of the fees in an email tomorrow. I would also ask another request again for LIPS. I need a spreadsheet, and I've asked for this before, for the year 2016 and year-to-date 2017, showing the amount of quality of life tickets issued each and every month. How many were issued by LIPS inspectors? and how many were issued by the Scranton Police Department through their ComD Patrol program? What is the collection rate of those tickets, and how many tickets were turned into citations? And also, what is the success rate at the district justice level? When I brought this idea to the city, I felt it could be successful, and it could turn the corner on blight in the neighborhoods, that it could be an effective tool to fight that fight. But I remain concerned that the fees are still too high, and that the policy of ticketing multiple offenses at the same time has created a situation that is driving property owners to the magistrate for appeal instead of simply just paying the ticket and correcting the problem. So I remind some that LIPS is not and should not be considered a profit center. The fees may need to be adjusted downward, and it's something we need to look at in 2018. But again, we need the data to make that decision and make it an informed decision. City Council, on a different topic, months ago agreed, with concurrence from the administration, that money from the sewer transaction would not be put into the pension plans until certain conditions were met. Primarily the hiring of a third-party administrator and a trust agreement that spelled out and guaranteed pension reforms, such as a reduction of the rate of return. Well, we felt, and I think we still do, that to achieve even a modest amount of pension reform, that was a minimum requirement. I would remind the administration, the unions, and the pension boards that the clock is still ticking. In order to be assured that the money is put into the pensions in 2017, legislation should be to City Council for the third-party administrator as well as the trust agreement over the next few weeks, and most likely no later than November 16th. Also, I'd like to note that there have been some comments made over the last few months about the positive return that the pensions could have received if the money was put in the pension sooner. I can't disagree with that, but I would have liked to have that all of our conditions met by June, which was the original target date. However, that did not happen. So at this point, we must continue to be willing to forego that short-term gain for a guarantee of long-term reform, something government needs to be doing more of, thinking long-term. Back on my favorite subject, of which I didn't talk about too much last week, the reassessment. I'd like to share some more additional information on that. Fair and equitable assessments ensure that the tax burden is properly spread among all property owners. The uniformity clause of the state constitution stipulates all taxes shall be uniform upon the same class of subjects. So what happens when assessments are not done regularly? Inequities to the tax base develop. Overall tax base decreases. Decreased tax base makes it harder for local governments to provide services we depend on, like public works, public safety, and of course education. So what are local government consequences of inaccurate and out-of-date assessments? Municipalities might have to levy more mills to keep up. Municipalities might bump up against a millage cap that limit revenue generation and result in service cuts. Municipalities are unable to secure naturally occurring growth in value that would prevent a tax increase. And what is the impact of market versus value, assessed value change from 1995 to 2016? Tax increases historically would have been less necessary if increased value was properly captured through an up-to-date assessment. Revenue lost in the past through inaccurate assessments cannot be recouped. And what is the economic impact of an outdated assessment? Old assessments often result in a higher millage that can scare off businesses. For example, Lackawanna County has a 28 mill rate. Luzerne County has a 1 mill rate. Relative values of both rates may be the same, but the perception of the higher millage is the drawback to attracting new businesses. Outdated assessments also invite appeals. Large, highly valued businesses typically seek appeals. Reduction in values can mean increases in equity for their other property owners, a significant loss of revenue to local governments, and destabilization of the tax base. Disincentive for new construction and renovations. New construction and certain renovations often bear a higher assessment, more reflective of market value. Now, all of the information I just discussed was part of the presentation to the League of Women Voters by the Pennsylvania Economy League. There are some that would call that information biased. I found that information to be not only unbiased, but extremely factual. So I hope it was helpful as you make your decision to vote yes or no on a reassessment in less than 2 weeks. And finally, I would like to make a brief comment on the presentation and request from Glynis Johns last Thursday evening. First of all, I'd like to thank you for bringing this to our attention. It's certainly recognition that is long overdue. As with any issue like this, the issue always becomes who is going to take the lead and who is going to step up and be the nominator and local sponsor, as well as cover the cost associated with the process of getting the markers placed if and when the application is successful. While City Council must continue to be supportive of the initiative, we don't have the resources to be the lead on this. And quite honestly, I'm not sure the city can shepherd this in a timely manner without creating another bureaucratic layer to the process. But again, the administration also needs to be supportive of this initiative, and I would expect that to happen. As I mentioned last week in my discussion on historic preservation in the downtown, I was previously the former president of the Architectural Heritage Association, and I'm currently a board member of that same group. So I approached several members of the board, and the Architectural Heritage Association has agreed to be the nominator and local sponsor, and will collaborate with Glynis to move this forward. And they have also committed to be responsible for all costs associated with creating and placing the historic markers once approved by the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission. So Glynis, your graduate thesis has just moved from the conceptual stage to the it's going to happen stage. So congratulations. And that's all I have tonight. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Mr. Gillian?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I just want to thank Mrs. Reed for putting together the event we had in honoring Mr. Norton, former city clerk for 20 years. He was, not only was he a wonderful city clerk, but he was a great husband, father, and he was a great family man. And I thought standing in front of his family, you could see the look on their faces that not only do they miss their father and Mrs. Norton misses her husband, but this was their life. Mr. Norton spent a lot of time in City Hall, and I think that that was a wonderful tribute to a wonderful man. Last week I brought up several concerns about the Greenridge Senior Housing Apartment off of Dixon Avenue. And since I've mentioned that, I've had several other people step forward. One person I haven't been able to get back to, or I left her a message and she hasn't called me back yet. Another person is sending me a letter with even more concerns. So people seem to be coming out of the woodwork on this issue. And just to briefly rehash where we are, quite a few years ago, the Greenridge Senior Housing Apartments were built with a tax abatement. And it was supposed to be for affordable senior housing. Now there are senior citizens who are apparently paying $1,100, $1,200, $1,300 a month, paying extra money to live next to the elevator, among a number of different things. So we did discuss this issue in the caucus. Mrs. Reed was kind enough to get us some documents, and I would like at this point to make a motion that Scranton City Council sends a letter to the Area on Aging relaying the concerns of residents of the Greenridge Senior Apartments on Dixon Avenue regarding a lack of affordable senior housing.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second on the question.
Yes, on the question. I would like us to send this letter, number one, so that it's documented, and number two, and some people may think, why is City Council getting involved in this? Nobody else is stepping up to the plate to help these people. From my experience talking with these elderly people, they're afraid to make any kind of move. They're afraid to speak out because of possible repercussions, getting kicked out of the apartments and other things. So I think this is a good first step to making the Area on Aging aware of it, and then take it from there.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You guys have it, so moved.
I would also like to request any documentation related to approval for the Greenridge Senior Housing Apartments tax abatement from the tax assessor's office. And I would also like to request that we invite the Affordable Senior Housing of New York and Clover Management, who is currently running the complex, to a public caucus to address residents' concerns. So hopefully we can get that letter out immediately. I was speaking with Mr. Young, who has been coming to these council meetings now for over a year regarding the hole in his backyard, and he is very disappointed because they were told that when the project starts, they're going to start up the street. So they're not going to start at his house to fix that issue. So, I mean, 19 months ago, we did deem that an emergency. So I would hope that they would make his property a priority because there is a major hole in his backyard. I'd also like an update, Mrs. Reed, if we could reach out about the treehouse. I've had several people approach me. My wife and I were walking around Nayock Park not too long ago, and people are wondering what the timeline is for fixing the treehouse and opening that back up again. Also, 1342 Bryn Mawr Street, several residents had reached out to me about illegal dumping there. That is a property we found out that's owned by the Lackawanna County Land Bank. So we have been getting in touch with Ralph Pappas from the county. Hopefully we'll have an update on that next week. Regarding Mr. Rogan's recommendation about shared services, I would agree with that, with the school district, and I am going to speak on that tonight. But I would also think, and I also believe, that one of the recommendations that should be immediately followed by the Scranton School Board and the administrators up the street is the same recommendation that the attorney or the Auditor General made this week. I'll be a little bit nicer, but to get their heads out of their rear ends. I think before you can form any kind of committee, they need to do that first. And I think that's very important. So before we talk about working together, I think it is time, as my grandmother would say, and Mr. DePasquale, to get their heads out of their rear ends. The recent audit of the Scranton School District and comments by the Auditor General, one of which is that it's the worst audit that he's ever seen, are extremely concerning for a number of different reasons. The audit demonstrated that there is a culture of incompetence, political backroom deals, and decades of general disregard for what is good for the taxpayers of Scranton that, in my opinion, has infected both the school board and, in some ways, the city of Scranton. When we talk about political pay-to-play, when we talk about the no-bid busing contract with DeNaples, when we talk about health insurance for a person who's not even an employee of the school district, and on the city level, when we talk about handing out $200,000 payments with no contract. Just a handshake, go on your way, see you later, here's the payment. I'm bringing this up because the current dysfunctional state of the Scranton School District and potential receivership will have a devastating effect to the city of Scranton's potential economic growth and our already weak tax base. A city is only as strong as its school district, and our school district at this point financially is not strong because there are people that are inept and who have been leading the school district and who have been running around, like I said, with politics in mind rather than good government. As I travel around the city, people are disgusted, and this is making them even more sick to their stomach, what's going on. If the school district continues to flounder, we run the risk of becoming a city with a very bleak future, with young people leaving and moving to the suburbs, which has already been occurring at a very alarming rate over the last few decades, and putting even more pressure on an already overburdened elderly tax base that cannot afford to keep paying for other people's ineptitude. As the school district struggles, Mayor Courtright has painted a very rosy picture of the city's finances and our possible exit from Act 47, without seeming to have a concern over the fact that there are several potential lawsuits and unanswered questions that could have a catastrophic impact on future budgets. And I've brought this up before. The mayor has said on more than one occasion that he does not have a plan B. The city administration doesn't have a plan B. This is unacceptable. If you don't have a plan B in the private sector and something goes wrong, you're out of a job. The mayor has told us to trust the lawyers. Again, unacceptable. This certainly does not inspire any confidence that we're expected to trust the mayor's attorneys after what we've seen go on here over the last 4 years, with the Scranton Sewer Authority deal, the stonewalling for months, and again, no bid oral contracts. These are the same lawyers who have had their hand in the piggy bank now for the last 4 years, but we're supposed to breathe a sigh of relief and thank them for their service. We do not want to be in the same position as the school district a year or two from now, and certainly we want to do everything we can to stave off a potential receivership. We need to have a plan B and prepare for the potential that the city may lose one of these lawsuits. For example, the Act 511 case. Judge Gibbons, who is one of the most respected jurists in the area, has ruled twice now against the city. The trash lawsuit, rental registration. We cannot ignore this, as the mayor is doing. If we don't at least prepare for the possible storm that may be coming, then we'll get wiped out. I would like to ask that we have a public caucus or a work session with the mayor and his administration to formulate a plan B, to formulate a task force, and lay out all of the options on the table in the event that the city of Scranton loses one of these lawsuits, which, as I said earlier, I think would be catastrophic on future budgets. What effect will it have? Where are the projections? How will we account for any lost revenue if we lose the trash lawsuit, if we have to pay any of that money back? If we lose the lawsuit that's in court now with the Scranton Sewer Authority and we have to pay any of that money back? I'm not blaming anybody for any of these issues. I'm simply saying we should at the very least be prepared. And right now, when we're being told by the mayor of this city, we don't have a plan B, trust the attorneys, that is not acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gohan. Everything that has been said this evening about the lawsuits, and as Mr. Gohan has says, we all share the same concerns of that. But here's the reality. Come November the 16th, we need a budget. We need to pass that budget by the end of the year. You're not allowed to make a Plan B budget. You're allowed to change the budget in 2018 by a slight percentage. In regard to Judge Gibbons, he has decided in this case, but what he has not done, he has not given the citizens or the city a remedy of what we should do if these taxes are out of line. We cannot pass a budget thinking that maybe we'll owe $1 million or $2 million. The only alternative for Plan B to meet our obligations as they're established is to have a huge property tax increase. That is the only alternative that we have right now with this budget. The budget, the cost of the budget, the expenses, they are set. Maybe you could cut a little bit, but you're not going to be able to cut enough that if you eliminate the Act 511 taxes, there's no other alternative for this budget than to have a huge property tax increase. There's no way around it. One thing that is forgotten is part of the Act 511 taxes come to us because there was a remedy offered to us by the House of Representatives and the Senate of the state. They gave us an increase in the LST tax. Every year we have to go to the LST tax and have it approved by a judge, which has happened. So the city has done the remedies that were offered to the city has taken advantage of those remedies. And I agree with Mr. Gahan that we do need a Plan B, but unfortunately, we can only pass a Plan A by the end of the year. So unless we want to take a look at the budget and hope that, and hope that we're right or hope that Judge Gibbons is wrong, the only alternative instead of that is to take a look at the budget and put a huge property tax increase. There's no other way around it. So unfortunately, I believe we have to go with the revenues that we have currently. And the sad part is we're going to have to hope that the city prevails in this suit. Now, there's several other, as been discussed, there's several other cities in the state that have the same type of a problem. Part of the problem is the fact that we haven't had a reassessment. It has a huge impact on our city. So once again, I don't disagree with what Mr. Gahan is saying, but come the end of the year, we need to pass a budget. People can vote against the budget and say they should have had a Plan B, but in reality, we need a document to work on that has to be approved. And that's kind of where we're at, unfortunately. If the city does not prevail, I think the consequences would be more in 2019 than in 2018. 2018, the budget, you won't know if you go over the amount until somewhere later in the year, but 2019 will be where the rubber meets the road for this, and I'm concerned also. Today, I attended two different events today. We hear a lot of disparaging words about Scranton from the podium there. Some of the people today, they should have attended the mayor's prayer breakfast, which was a meeting of several different faiths, several different groups, a lot of young people there, a lot of business people there, very upbeat. The Scranton Night Rhythms sang 3 different selections. They have a wonderful voice. They have a wonderful teacher. And we heard some disparaging things, rightfully so, about the Scranton School District this evening, but the representatives from Scranton High were awesome, and at the end they received a well-deserved standing ovation. I also attended today the presentation by Penns Northeast concerning the location of the Amazon facility in northeastern Pennsylvania. It was an effort by all the different counties. It was one of the 238 submissions that went in, which the main thing, we talked about this before, even though we may not see anything from Amazon because we're up against some pretty large cities, it did represent the first time in a long time, except when the Toby Haney Armold depot faced closure, that all governments came together, all business people came together, and came up with a great plan. There was input from the local colleges, the local chamber of commerces, governments, and they put together a very significant package. I am going to request that they provide, it's a huge, about a 5,000-page binder. I'm going to ask that they can put one that will have it in the city clerk's office for review if anybody would like to see it. It's too big to put on our website. We'd crash our website with that. But I'd like to offer congratulations to everyone that was involved in it. My colleagues as well. One of our letters was highlighted as a support letter. So for as much disparaging things that we hear from the podium, and everyone has a right to their opinion, today when I attended a meeting at the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Airport, the attitude was much better about the success of our area than we hear sometimes here. And I think we're a little hard on ourselves sometimes. I don't think we step back and appreciate what we have and the contributions that everyone can make in our area. That's it.
5B for introduction of resolution authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into an addendum to the cooperation agreement by and between the City of Scranton and the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs to further amend the cooperation agreement to permit the Scranton Police Department's Force Entry Tactical Team to conduct explosive entry training on the Leech Range property.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5B be introduced to its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, so moved.
5C for introduction of resolution authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with Petroleum Traders Corporation to provide 80,000 gallons more or less low sulfur diesel fuel to the City of Scranton Department of Public Works for the period January 1, 2018 through December 31, 2018.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5C be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, so moved.
5D for introduction of resolution authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with DG Nicholas Company to provide the city bulk oil delivered for the period January 1, 2018 through December 31, 2018.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5D be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, so moved.
5E for introduction of resolution appointment of Thomas Galella Sr., 112 Peller Avenue, Scranton, Pennsylvania, 18505, as a member of the board of the Scranton Housing Authority. Mr. Galella will be replacing Bill Egan, whose term expired September 27, 2017. Mr. Galella will be appointed to a 5-year term effective October 12, 2017, and will expire on September 27, 2022.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5E be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, so moved.
5F, for introduction of resolution authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a memorandum of understanding by and between the city of Scranton and Electric City Television, setting forth the terms and conditions regarding the obligations of ECTV to the city and the disbursement and use of educational and governmental capital grant funds.
And at this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5F be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, so moved.
Sixth order, 6A, no business at this time. Seventh order, 7A, no business at this time.
If there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
This meeting is adjourned.